Hello again. So happy you could be with us again. We are reading from the Complete Jewish Bible, which is a translation of the Hebrew Bible. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 9, Shema. Hear, Israel, Adonai our God, Adonai is one, and you're to love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, all your being, and all your resources. These words which I am ordering you today are to be on your heart, and you're to teach them carefully to your children. You're to talk about them when you're sitting at home, when you're traveling on the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them on your hand as a sign, put them at the front of a headband around your forehead, and write them on the door frames of your house and on your gates. Matthew chapter 6, verses 9 through 14, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father in heaven, may your name be kept holy, may your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us the food we need today. Forgive us what we have done wrong, as we too have forgiven those who have wronged us. And lead us not into hard testing, but keep us safe from the evil one. For kingship, power, and glory are yours forever. We are on Exodus chapter 17. The whole community of the people of Israel left the Sin desert, traveling in stages as Adonai had ordered, and camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people quarreled with Moshe, demanding, "Give us water to drink." But Moshe replied, "Why pick a fight with me? Why are you testing Adonai?" However, the people were thirsty for water there and grumbling against Moshe. For what did you bring us up from Egypt, to kill us, our children, and our livestock with thirst? Moshe cried out to Adonai, "What am I to do with these people? They're ready to stone me." Adonai answered Moshe, "Go on ahead of the people and bring with you the leaders of Israel. Take your staff in your hand, the one you used to strike the river, and go. I will stand in front of you there on the rock in Horeb. You're to strike the rock, and water will come out of it so that the people can drink." Moshe did this in the sight of the leaders of Israel. The place was named Massah and Meribah because of the quarreling of the people of Israel, and because they tested Adonai by asking, "Is Adonai with us or not?" Well, then Amalek came and fought with Israel at Rephidim. Moshe said to Joshua, "Choose men for us, go out and fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with God's staff in my hand." Joshua did as Moshe had told him and fought with Amalek. Then Moshe, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. When Moshe raised his hand, Israel prevailed. But when he let it down, Amalek prevailed. However, Moshe's hands grew heavy, so they took a stone and put it under his arm, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held up his hands, the one on the one side and the other on the other side, so that the hands stayed steady until sunset. Thus Joshua defeated Amalek, putting their people to the sword. Adonai said to Moshe, "Write this in a book to be remembered, and tell it to Joshua. I will completely blot out any memory of Amalek from under heaven." Moshe built an altar, called it Adonai Nisi, and said, "Because their hand was against the throne of Yah, Adonai will fight Amalek generation after generation. 1 Samuel chapter 22. David left there and took refuge in the cave of Adullam. When his brothers and the rest of his father's family heard of it, they went down to see him there. Then all the people in distress, in debt, or embittered began gathering around him, and he became their leader. There were about 400 with them. David went from there to Mitzpeh of Moab, and said to the king of Moab, "Please let my father and mother come and stay with you until I know what God will do for me." He presented them to the king of Moab, and they lived with him as long as David remained in his stronghold. But the prophet Gad said to David, "Do not stay in the stronghold. Leave and go to the land of Judah." So David left and went to the forest of Heret. Shaul heard that David and the men with him had been located. Shaul was sitting in Giv'ah under the tamarisk tree on the hill with his spear in his hand and all his servants standing around him. Shaul said to his servants standing around him, "Listen, you men of Benjamin, is Jishai's son going to give any of you fields and vineyards? Is he going to make you all commanders of thousands and hundreds? Is this why you have all conspired against me? Why none of you told me when my son went in league with Jishai's son? None of you is concerned about me. Otherwise you would have told me that my son had incited my servant to become my enemy, as he is now." Then Doeg the Edomite, who had been put in charge of Shaul's servants, answered, "I saw Jishai's son come to Nob, to Amalek, the son of Achitub. He consulted Adonai for him, gave him food and gave him sword of Goliath the Philistine." The king sent to summon Achimelech, the Cohen, the son of Achitub, along with all his father's family, the Kohanim in Nob, and all of them went to the king. Shaul said, "Listen here, you son of Achitub." He answered, "Here I am, my lord." Shaul said to him, "Why did you conspire against me, you and Jishai's son? By giving him bread and a sword and consulting God for him, you helped him rebel against me and become my enemy, which he is now." Achimelech answered the king, "Is there anyone among all your servants more trustworthy than David? He is the king's son-in-law. He carries out your every request. Your household honors him. I did not start consulting God for him just today. Heaven forbid. The king should not have accused me or my father's family of anything. Your servant knows nothing at all about any of this." But the king said, "You must die, you and your father's whole family." Then the king told the guards standing around him, "Go around and kill the Kohanim of Adonai, because they are siding with David and because they knew he was escaping. Yet they did not tell me." But the king's servants refused to lift their hands against the Kohanim of Adonai. So the king said to Doeg, "You go around and kill the Kohanim." Doeg the Edomite went around and fell on the Kohanim. That day he killed 85 persons wearing linen ritual vests. He also attacked Nob, the city of the Kohanim, with the sword. He put to the sword both men and women, children, babies, cattle, donkeys, and sheep. One of the sons of Achimelech, the son of Achitub, named Avjatar, escaped and fled to join David. Avjatar told David that Shaul had killed the Kohanim of Adonai. David said to Avjatar, "I knew it. That day when Doeg the Edomite was there, I knew he would tell Shaul, 'I caused the death of every person in your father's family.' Stay with me. Do not be afraid, because the one who is seeking my life seeks yours too. You will be safe with me." And now Psalms chapter 67. A psalm. God be gracious to us and bless us. May he make his face shine toward us, so that your way may be known on earth, your salvation among all nations. Let the peoples give thanks to you, God. Let the peoples give thanks to you, all of them. Let the nations be glad and shout for joy, for you will judge the peoples fairly and guide the nations on earth. Let the peoples give thanks to you, God. Let the peoples give thanks to you, all of them. The earth has yielded its harvest. May God, our God, bless us. May God continue to bless us, so that all the ends of the earth will fear him. And Luke chapter 23. With that, the whole Sanhedrin got up and brought Joshua before Pilate, where they started accusing him. "We found this man subverting our nation, forbidding us to pay taxes to the emperor, and claiming that he himself is the Messiah, a king." Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And he answered him, "The words are yours." Pilate said to the head Kohanim and the crowds, "I find no ground for a charge against this man," but they persisted. "He is inciting the people with his teaching throughout all of Judah. He started in the Galilee and now he's here." On hearing this, Pilate asked if the man was from Galilee. And when he heard that he was under Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him over to Herod, who at that time happened to be in Jerusalem as well. Herod was delighted to see Joshua because he had heard about him for a long time and had been wanting to meet him. Indeed, he hoped to see him perform some miracle. He questioned him at great length, but Joshua made no reply. However, the head Kohanim and the Torah teachers stood there, vehemently pressing their case against him. Herod and his soldiers treated Joshua with contempt and made fun of him. Then, dressing him in an elegant robe, they sent him back to Pilate. That day, Herod and Pilate made friends with each other. Previously, they had been enemies. Pilate summoned the head Kohanim, the leaders of the people, and said to them, "You brought this man before me on a charge of subverting the people. I examined him in your presence and did not find the man guilty of the crime that you're accusing him of. And neither did Herod, because he sent him back to us. Clearly, he has not done anything that merits the death penalty. Therefore, what I will do is have him flogged and release him." But with one voice they shouted, "Away with this man! Give us Barabbas!" Pilate appealed to them because he wanted to release Joshua. But they replied, "Put him to death on the stake! Put him to death on the stake!" A third time he asked them, "But what has this man done wrong? I have not found any reason to put him to death. So I am not going to have him flogged. So I am going to have him flogged and set free." But they went on yelling insistently, demanding that he be executed on the stake, and their shouting prevailed. Pilate decided to grant their demand. He released the man who had been thrown in prison for insurrection and murder, the one they had asked for, and Joshua he surrendered to their will. As the Roman soldiers led Joshua away, they grabbed hold of a man from Cyrene named Shimon, who was on his way in from the country. They put the execution stake on his back and made him carry it behind Joshua. Large numbers of people followed, including women crying and wailing over him. Joshua turned to them and said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not cry for me. Cry for yourselves and your children. For the time is coming when people will say, the childless women are the lucky ones, those whose wombs have never borne a child, whose breasts have never nursed a baby. Then they will begin to say to the mountains, fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For if they do these things when the wood is green, what is going to happen when it is dry?" 2 other men, both criminals, were led out to be executed with him. When they came to the place they called the Skull, they nailed him to a cross, and they nailed the criminals to stakes, one on his right and one on his left. Joshua said, "Father, forgive them. They do not understand what they're doing." They divided up his clothes by throwing dice. The people stood watching, and the ruler sneered at him. "He saved others," they said, "so if he really is the Messiah, the one chosen by God, let him save himself." The soldiers too ridiculed him. They came up, offered him vinegar, and said, "If you're the king of the Jews, save yourself." And there was a notice over him which read, "This is the King of the Jews." One of the criminals hanging there hurled insults at him. "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." But the other one spoke up and rebuked the first, saying, "Have you no fear of God? You are getting the same punishment as he is. Ours is only fair. We're getting what we deserve for what we did, but this man did nothing wrong." Then he said, "Joshua, remember me when you come as king." Joshua said to him, "Yes, I promise that you will be with me today in Gan Eden." It was now about noon, and darkness covered the whole land until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun did not shine. Also, the parapet in the temple was split down the middle. Crying out with a loud voice, Joshua said, "Father, Into your hands I commit my spirit." With these words he gave up his spirit. When the Roman officer saw what had happened, he began to praise God and said, "Surely this man was innocent." And with all the crowds that had gathered to watch the spectacle saw the things that had occurred, they returned beating their breasts. All his friends, including the women who had accompanied him from Galilee, had been standing at a distance. They saw it all. There was a man named Joseph, a member of the Sanhedrin. He was a good man, a tzaddik, and he had not been in agreement with either the Sanhedrin's motivation nor their action. He came from the town of Ramatayim, a town of the Judeans, and he looked forward to the kingdom of God. This man approached Pilate and asked for Yeshua's body. He took it down, wrapped it in a linen sheet, and placed it in a tomb cut into the rock that had never been used. It was Preparation Day, and a Shabbat was about to begin. The women who had come with Yeshua from the Galilee followed. They saw the tomb and how his body was placed in it. Then they went back home to prepare spices and ointments. On Shabbat, the women rested in obedience to the commandments. Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 through 26, the Aaronic blessing. May Adonai bless you and keep you. May Adonai make his face shine upon you and show you his favor. May Adonai lift up his face toward you and give you his shalom. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, shalom.